Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has called the attention to the government of Ecuador about the measures it has implemented to address the current crisis of the violence in the country. In the Netherlands, the International Court of Justice on Friday ordered the Israeli government to take all measures within its power to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza. And meanwhile, Palestinian authorities announced on Friday that the Israeli occupation army has killed more than 26,000 people in the Gaza Strip. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. In Brazil, the first meeting of the joint Venezuelan-Guyana Commission was held on Thursday to address the issues related to the case of the Essequibo. The meeting was attended by Foreign Minister Ivan Gil, the Minister of Popular Power for Eco-Socialism, Josué Lorca Vega, and the agent in the International Court of Justice, Samuel Moncada, on behalf of Venezuela, while on behalf of Guyana, Foreign Minister Hugh Hilton Todd and his team participated. During the talks, Venezuela and Guyana expressed their understanding of the commitment made in the Argyle Declaration for Dialogue and Peace, particularly the mandate given to the Joint Commission. Both countries presented their proposed agenda for the work of the Joint Commission, which will be analyzed at a new meeting that will be held in Brazil. Ivan Gil reaffirmed that the region has the political will and all the necessary instruments to advance in its common project of fair social development in a peaceful and supportive environment.
Guyana and Venezuela agreed on the need to continue addressing the issue diplomatically and reaffirmed that both parties will abstain from threatening statements or from invoking the use of force. Or involving third parties in such matters, in matters related to Guyana and Venezuela.
And the president of Venezuela National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, denounced on Thursday further details on the conspiracy plans against the country, which have counted on the complicity of local politicians and the approval of the U.S. government. Speaking from the Venezuela National Assembly, Rodriguez pointed out that regarding the complaint filed by the Attorney General's office last Monday, the legislative branch will debate in order to take forceful actions against those who threaten the peace of the Republic. This was made in reference to the claim made by Tarek William Saab, who on Monday recounted that a total of 31 people were arrested in Venezuela during the past year for allegedly being involved in 5 conspiracy plans that included the assassination of President Nicolas Maduro and assaults on military installations. In this opportunity, the president of the Venezuelan National Assembly denounced that all the military personnel who participated in these events were recruited by the CIA in Guaido's 2019 adventure and called on U.S. officials, in particular Brian Nicholson, to respond to these allegations.
They have a compulsion to repeat with Christmas, like the oil strike of the oil sabotage of 2002, the violent actions of 2003, the so-called last line of 2015, the guarimbas of 2017, and then the crazy hour and brutal that started in January 2019. And that generate the most serious aggression that the people of Venezuela have suffered in 150 years, is to generate a tone of concern that allows the perpetration of street violent plans, as it happened in 2019, 2020, and 2021.
And we stay in Venezuela, where President Nicolas Maduro urged to save the Barbados Agreement in order to reach great consensus. The head of state led a working day with the plenary of the Federal Council of Government as part of the 7 Dots Nets, where he declared the negotiations with the opposition to be intensive therapy. Likewise, the president referred to the fact that all the dismantled conspiracies had the objective of attacking the country. In this sense, the Venezuelan president pointed out that hopefully the negotiations can be saved and pushed through dialogue to reach a great national consensus without destabilizing plans. And the Bolivarian National Armed Forces of Venezuela has shut down on Thursday an airplane carrying weapons and drugs. The country ratifies that it will not be a land for trafficking of illicit substances. The head of the Strategic Operational Command of the Armed Forces, Domingo Antonio Hernandez Lares, explained that the aircraft coming from Mexico was detected by radars when it was flying over Venezuelan airspace with the transponder turned off and without a flight permit. Hernandez Lares confirmed that the plane illegally entered the state of Zulia carrying drugs and weapons. It is presumed that transnational groups coordinated this operation. The Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has called attention to the government of Ecuador regarding the measures that it has implemented to address the current crisis of violence. Liz Torosel, the spokesperson of the High Commissioner, recalled that human rights must be at the center of all policies aimed at stopping violence. It also ratifies that the measures taken by the executive branch must be proportionate and limited, always respecting the principles of legality, necessity, proportionality, and non-discrimination. It also emphasizes that the powers assigned to the armed forces must be exceptional and subordinated to a civilian authority. Also on Thursday, visitors to Peru's iconic Machu Picchu site had their trip briefly interrupted by protesters who were angry at the government for privatizing ticket sales at the Inca Citadel. Tour operators and residents closed stores in protest and blocked the tracks of tourist train, forcing those on board to walk the remaining 3 kilometers to the entrance. People are against the systematic privatization of Machu Picchu. A local group denounces that the company granted for the sale of tickets, Joinus, will earn up to $3.2 million per year in commissions. Community representative Darwin Baca told the agency AFP that the people do not agree and that the company was illegally contracted. The Ministry of Culture said the protest had not seriously disrupted Thursday's tours.
The people, the organizations, the Cusco region asked that the contract with Jonas be canceled as soon as possible because the people are taking drastic measures. Today they have closed their businesses. Let's not expect it to escalate. There was a strong mobilization of the people of Machu Picchu voluntarily closing the facilities. We have mobilized because we are outraged with the Ministry of Culture.
The United Nations Security Council met on Thursday to examine acts of violence committed by criminal groups in Haiti. The Council evaluated the reports updated by the United Nations Integrated Mission in Haiti and the UN Office Against Drugs and Crime in the last quarter of 2023. According to official reports, the departments of Oeste and Artibonito are most affected by criminal groups that attack the population and the authorities in the area. The Commission recognized the challenge of re-establishing control in the nation and putting an end to the expansion of armed gangs. The document states that registered homicides in 2023 increased by 119.4% over 2022. And now let's take a short break. But remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. The International Court of Justice on Friday ordered the Israeli government to take all measures within its power to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza. In this regard, the United Nations High Court, based in The Hague, issued a verdict after the government of South Africa filed a lawsuit against Israel for genocidal acts in Gaza due to the ongoing offensive that has already killed over 26,000 people. The ICJ attorney, Joan Donoghue, and other judges of the Hague Tribunal ruled by 15 votes to 2 that Israel must take measures to prevent the killing of civilians in Gaza, inflict conditions detrimental to their livelihood that could lead to the partial destruction of or prevent death among the Gaza population. In this way, the tribunal will give Benjamin Netanyahu's government 1 month to submit a report on the measures ordered. It should be noted that the final ruling on whether Israel committed genocidal acts could take up to a year or more. In turn, the Hamas group reiterated that they would abide by any ceasefire ruling as long as Israeli troops reciprocate. Palestinian authorities announced on Friday that the Israeli occupation army has killed 26,083 people in the Gaza Strip. In this regard, the Gaza Health Authority added that the total number of dead, more than 80,000 of them are women and children, and also confirmed 64,487 wounded. None of these records include the bodies buried under the rubble. This update on the Tel Aviv's regime harassment comes in a context in which the International Court of Justice in The Hague has made a pronouncement on the genocide lawsuit filed by South Africa against Israel. It should be noted that Benjamin Netanyahu's government does not recognize this death toll, despite the support of the Red Cross and the ICJ itself. In Palestine, at least 24 people were illegally detained by Israeli occupation forces in the occupied Gaza territories and the occupied West Bank. The authorities affirmed that since last October 7th, illegal detentions in the territory amounted to 6,285 and continue to increase after the Israeli incursions. The citizens denounced that the army of the Tel Aviv regime carries out raids on the homes of the families of the detainees, which are accompanied by looting operations and cause damage to the property. Also in Palestine, the Israeli army carried out the demolition of at least 1,100 buildings near the border to create a buffer zone. The project of the Israeli occupation seeks to create a 500-meter mine zone to guarantee the movement of its troops without risk of attacks by the Palestinian resistance. The idea of this buffer zone along the perimeter of Palestinian territories is advocated by Israeli officials despite the rejection of the United States. This issue is one of several areas of disagreement between Tel Aviv and Washington, with the United States asserting that the administration does not want the Gaza territory to be reduced in any way. And in Kenya, human rights activists that held a protest in solidarity with Palestinians on Thursday were hit with tear gas by police in Nairobi. Human rights activists in Kenya that held a protest in solidarity with Palestinians were hit with tear gas by the police in that city. The protest came as the German foreign minister was in the country during her 4-day tour of Africa. Germany is a strong supporter of the Israeli siege on Gaza, and it's set to intervene in the genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. The health ministry in Gaza states that over 26,000 people have been killed and others 63,000 have been wounded in the enclave since the beginning of the Israeli attacks. The Nairobi protest was dispersed by police and some of the activists were even arrested.
Today was supposed to be a peaceful solidarity march, and yet there was a permit that circulated, at least in the in the poster for this protest, and we expected it to be a very peaceful affair where we show our solidarity, but what we have experienced today was not. Was pretty. We feel it was unfair. Like we were targeted with tear gas. And threatening by the police, and some of our colleagues have been arrested.
And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and also share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The French government on Thursday sought ways to end protests by farmers blocking motorways and demonstrating across the country after a fuel tax rise ignited long-standing grievances. Newly installed Prime Minister Gabriel Attal summoned his economy, environment and agriculture ministers to confront his first crisis and decide on aid measures to fend off a possible blockade of the capital. The FNSEA union said that farmers blocked roads at 77 spots around France. Its Paris region section and the Young Farmers called for a blockade of Paris. Elsewhere, hundreds of farmers blocked the M35 motorway near Strasbourg in the east, while farmers on the A1 motorway outside Lille, close to the Belgian border.
Our fight is directed at the agri-food industry and our cooperatives, because this distribution of margins is not fair. And today we can see the result of the agri-food industry, we can see the result of the big retails, and they all have results. Double-digit growth. So this is important for us.
It's very uncertain, but I think today there are some who can't live on their salary. That's clear, or the results. Others are doing a bit better. But in my case, it's 400, 500 euros a month. That's about it, with endless hours and constraints.
Thousands of university students in Greece demonstrated in the center of Athens against the privatization of universities. During the day, protesters marched near the main University of Athens and in front of the statues of ancient Greek philosophers Plato and Socrates to demand the right to free education. The students claim that the government should allow them to study regardless of their economic situation. In such a way, they add that the measure will harm public universities facing financial difficulties. The Greek government is facing protests from several professional groups due to legislative reforms and the cost of living crisis. In other news, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan approved on Thursday the ratification of Sweden's membership into NATO. Erdogan published the law 2 days after the Turkish parliament passed the bill to approve Sweden's bid to join the Western Military Alliance. The Turkish parliament voted on the bill after a debate in the Grand National Assembly on Tuesday night with 287 votes in favor, 55 against, and 4 abstentions. With Turkey's ratification, Hungary remains the only NATO member country that hasn't approved Sweden's application for NATO membership. Sweden and Finland applied to join NATO after Russia launched its special military operation in Ukraine in the year 2022. Their accession requires the unanimous approval of all members of the military alliance. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.